Free enterprise may be an economic concept, but to millions around the free world, free enterprise as a way of life fosters an abundance of opportunity. Thanks to free enterprise, Amway distributors have the opportunity to achieve personal freedom through a business of their own. Speaking in Ada, Michigan, to a group of successful Amway distributors from around the world, J. Van Andel, chairman of the board of Amway Corporation, talks about free enterprise and Amway.
Free enterprise, what do we mean by that? You hear us talk about that a lot in this business. And free enterprise really means that you, as an individual citizen of your country, are able to engage in business, start a business, buy a business, sell a business, buy products, sell products, make a profit, keep the profits, buy property, sell property, do all of these things with little or no interference from your government, as long as you stay within the rules of the ball game, as we say. Now, we're committed to that in the Amway business because the Amway business can only exist in a free enterprise environment. But free enterprise and freedom, personal freedom, the freedom to come and go as you please, to work as you please, to live where you please, to think as you please, to say as you please, which all of us who live in free countries know about. If you want freedom, you're going to have free enterprise with it. If you want free enterprise, you have to have a free society. We call ourselves entrepreneurs. We use that word in English. That's really a French word, I believe. And entrepreneurs, we define as people who start and operate their own businesses. Well, the foundation for entrepreneurism, foundation on which it's based, has to be free enterprise. You can't have entrepreneurs without free enterprise. Freedom and controlled economies don't mix, of course. It doesn't make any difference whether you're talking about socialism, communism, fascism, authoritarianism, and all these different isms. They don't mix with what we do. And the people who run those shows don't like what we do. They're afraid of what we do. They don't want us around. Now, the Amway business rests on a free society and free enterprise, which is why we believe in those concepts. But we believe in them for other reasons besides that. We believe in freedom because we believe that's what man is supposed to be and created to be. A free society, however, in order to work, needs a basic moral structure. In this country, we have a free society, and people, as free people, can write money. We call them checks. Just take your pen and write on a piece of paper any amount of dollars you wish, and you run it through the banking system, give it to a store to buy something, and people accept it on faith. That would only work in a society in which most people are honest, and there are a few people who abuse that privilege, of course, but most people do not. We have little plastic cards that we call credit cards, and you present them to a merchant and you can buy anything you wish. That could only work in a free society that has moral principles, otherwise it would collapse. In our country, we pay income tax voluntarily. People are simply asked to figure out what their tax is and send in a check. And they do. Almost everybody does. A few don't. And those few that don't usually come a cropper somewhere along the way. Free societies only work if people are basically honest and fair and observe the rules. In the same way, Amway, within the larger free society of our countries, is a free society as a business. It's a voluntary thing. People only come into Amway voluntarily. We are, as a business worldwide, with over 1 million people involved, are one of the largest armies in the world, but it's entirely a voluntary army. People can come and go and quit or start as they see fit. Nobody asks them or nobody forces them to. Now, as a free society, as Amway, we have certain rules self-imposed, voluntary, that we know we have to observe in order to make it work. For instance, we have to pay bonuses to our distributors who've earned them. Oh, you could keep the money, but if we did that, it wouldn't be very long before the system would break down, wouldn't it? We have to honor guarantees with our customers and our distributors. Oh, we can forget about it and not do it, but it won't be very long before people won't buy from us anymore. The Amway plan rests on basic honesty and basic morality. Now, the Amway business distributes products, we have chosen to do this, through a system of selling that we call direct selling. That means selling directly to the home, not through stores, not through other systems. And we have a special kind of direct selling that we call multi-level marketing. That's our Amway sales and marketing plan, multi-level selling. Now, certain disciplines are needed to make that all work. And those disciplines are things that we voluntarily ourselves have to recognize. Some of them are disciplines that come out to us from the outside. There are government regulations in all of our countries that control, to some degree, how we function as a business. There are regulations that also control what we say about our products and all of that. But voluntarily, we have to make sure that we treat customers and distributors fairly, that there are no rip-offs, that we honestly enforce our guarantees, that we pay our bonuses, that we don't engage in overselling to our distributor groups things that they don't really need for their Amway business. Books, tapes, rally tickets, whatever, in excess beyond what their need might be. Now, all of that functions in a world market because, as we said earlier, Amway is a world organization. Now, sometimes people around the world might think that Amway originating in America originates in a country that doesn't understand the rest of the world. I think just the opposite is true. Nobody in this country, either themselves or through their heritage, was always here. We are the world's greatest society here of immigrants. Everybody came here from somewhere else. And as a result, in this country, every race is represented. Every language that's spoken on the face of the earth is spoken by someone in this country. Every culture is represented here. Every religion is represented here. And we all mixed up through each other, and we have to live with each other somehow and get along with each other somehow. There's nothing else in the world quite like it. So we do understand a little bit about a world society. And we know that a world society, to function right, has to function with an open society. And that's why we believe in the concepts of free trade and fair trade. We hear a lot of talk today in our Congress, and it's, I'm sure, spilled over into the newspapers of your own country about protectionism, about whether countries are shipping goods into other countries in a disadvantageous way. And there are people in our country who want to have tariff barriers that keep out Japanese automobiles and German automobiles and Japanese television sets and Italian shoes and English woolens and so forth. We don't agree with that because we believe in a free trade and a free society. Way back in the early 1930s, our Congress was foolish enough, I believe, to pass some laws that were called the Smoot-Hawley tariff laws. Many people believe that that ultimately led to World War II because it created a trade war. And trade wars usually in all history have resulted ultimately in hot wars. It's interesting, you know, I was thinking the other day, I mentioned that almost everyone in this country has come from somewhere else originally, either through their parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, or great-great-grandparents. Even our so-called Native Americans, the Eskimos and the American Indians, didn't originate here. It's said they came across the land bridge from Siberia. People sometimes forget that our country borders on the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union and the United States are only 2 miles apart in Alaska. Alaska used to belong to the Soviets. They want it back, but they're not going to get it back. We're not giving it back. And so, our concepts of freedom and free trade and fair trade and a free society, you can see all tie together and are woven together and have one supports the other. Well, that leads me to a comment on another part of the total concept of Amway, and that's profit or profitability. Profit or profitability. Some people say that the purpose of a business is to make a profit. I don't really agree with that. I don't think that that's the purpose of a business. I think it's important that a business make a profit. It must make a profit to survive, but that, in my judgment, is not the real purpose. I think the purpose of a business is to serve the needs and the wants of people and serve them with products and services that perform as claimed at competitive prices. Now, when you do all that, when you serve the needs and wants with products and services that perform as you say they will for a reasonable price, then of course you also have to make a profit in so doing. And I said serve needs and wants. Now, needs exist. Everybody knows what needs are. The need for food, the need for drink, the need for rest. There are certain things that we have basic needs in society. There are other things that aren't really needed, but we want them. You can get along without a television set. Probably could get along without a lot of the clothing we have and so forth. But we want them because those wants have been created by business by a process we call salesmanship. And we in Amway are in the selling business, and we are in the want-creating business, and that's good. Because by creating wants, we also create a better standard of living for all the people involved. Now, when we are involved in business, serving people by satisfying their needs and wants, by selling them products and services, we must remember that the transaction that is involved in a sale must always be good both ways. The seller of a product must receive a price large enough to cover all of his costs and a profit besides. The buyer of the product must be happy to part with his or her money and have the product instead. And when that all happens in the right way, then everybody's happy and you have a good transaction. Profits are necessary to corporations and to companies because the profit, despite what Karl Marx said, and Karl Marx never knew what he was talking about, the profit is necessary to provide the capital for the system to operate, because out of profits, businesses buy buildings, such as we're sitting in, machinery to make things, to sell, and inventories. And they also pay for the use of the capital that they're using for whoever may own the capital. That has come from profits. Likewise, distributors, Amway distributors, have to make profit. Because if they don't make a profit, they can't live. And the profit has to be related to their efforts. And it's our objective to make sure that all Amway distributors enjoy some profit. Now, we control that to some degree, you and I, because to the degree that we teach Amway distributors to successfully sell and sponsor, we can expect them to become profitable, provided, and there are some provideds. Profitability in this business comes from the sale of products, first of all, and it's multiplied by sponsoring. Now, don't get that backwards. It doesn't come from sponsoring multiplied by selling. It comes from selling multiplied by sponsoring. You can have profit without sponsoring. It won't be as much. You can have profit just from selling. You can multiply that profit by sponsoring. But you can't have profit by just sponsoring. That won't work. Now, when we keep distributors' costs down, we don't burden them too heavily with buying a lot of sales material that they don't need. Then we keep their margins big. And when we teach them to sell properly and motivate them to sell properly, when we make sure that the inventory is available to them in one way or another so they can complete the sale, when we make sure that we don't hype them with overload of sales material that they don't need, then their profitability can expand. We can also do some things about profitability from the sales management standpoint, and we're doing that here. The introduction of the high ticket or big ticket or larger sale type of product helps profitability. It's obvious. I don't have to explain that. Our long-term history of being in the business of selling consumables, products that are consumed, used, or eaten, and purchased over and over again, like food bars or LOC or SA8, is a profitable type of business. Something new that we're doing, it's coming as a result of the big ticket items, is what we call the regenerative business. That means you sell a water filter, and a year later, the owner of that water filter that you sold it to, in order for the filter to work, must buy a new cartridge. And the cartridge is pretty profitable business. That's regenerative business. And of course, we're also getting now into the sale of services with continuity. That is, services that go on and on and on. And I probably should make a mention here also, and I think it's important to all of you, that in the development of our overall business, there's a timing matter that all of our marketplaces aren't equally old in the Amway sense. In most markets, we start with products of one type and then graduate as we go through time to other types of products. We don't do the whole thing all at once, nor does the newest market necessarily have the products that the oldest market has at that point in time. And there are very good reasons for that. That timing is an important matter in the worldwide affairs that we have. Let me make a couple of remarks also on competition. Competition. Hundreds, perhaps thousands, have tried to imitate Amway. Now, it's easy to start. In this town, we have once a year a run called the River Run, and I think it's 25 kilometers, and you can run this course that's marked, and if you complete the course in a certain period of time, there's certain prizes you can earn. First of all, I think the majority of the people never complete the course. It's quite a ways to run, 25 kilometers. Those who do complete, an awful lot of them come in late. Hardly anybody comes in a respectable time. But that's the way it is. That's the way it is with competition. Few have the commitment and the stamina to be more than starters. We've got all kinds of competitors who've started. That's easy. Very few can finish. That's more difficult. I read in a magazine the other day that was writing about the Amway business, and I thought it was rather nice. They said Amway has intelligence and muscle. I thought, that's pretty good. I don't mind being known as having intelligence and muscle. But in addition to that, what the fellow didn't write about, but we know, is that we also have experience, and we have know-how, and we have capital, and we have integrity, and we have a track record, and we have aggressiveness, and we believe in quality. We believe in quality in our products, and we believe in quality in our performance. And I said integrity. And let me explain a little bit what I mean by that. Integrity, the value system with which you do business, with which you carry on business transactions with other people. The value system that you have to have and that we have to work together and to work with our distributors and to work with our customers, without which we will not stay in business. Our value system to you and to the world is based on the value systems in the Bible, the Bible's golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do to you. That's a value system our families were raised on, and I think our corporate staff understands. Integrity, basic honesty, representing things as they are to people, honoring your promises, not making promises unless you intend to keep them. All of these things are very fragile. You know, once a person lies to you, you can never again believe them for sure. Once a person breaks a promise to you, you can never be sure that the next promise they make won't also be broken. It's like a teacup. You can drop it and break it, and you can patch it together with glue, but the glue will always show thereafter. Because although we may forgive lapses in integrity, we cannot forget lapses in integrity. And so our value system in this business must be long-term. It's not just for today. And our value system has been inculcated into the minds not only of our employees here, but most importantly of our family, our next generation. Our next generation, some of whom are sitting in this room, such as Dick, Dan, others, my children, who have heard and learned that value system through the years, and upon whom we place the responsibility to carry that value system forward in all the dealings that we have with you in the years in the future, as long as those dealings may be. That's what we mean by integrity. Amway's a worldwide business. It's a worldwide business committed to direct selling with a multi-level system of direct selling, committed to growth, to expansion in all the market areas we can do. We're committed to growth. We're committed to imagination and creativity in our product lines, and they are becoming very imaginative and creative, if you've been watching what's happening recently. To integrity long-term, as I described, from generation to generation. We're committed to you. We believe in possibility thinking. That simply means that we believe all things are possible. And we think that the greatest days for Amway distributors are still ahead of us, not behind us. Now, there have always been naysayers in the world. That's easy. It's easy to predict something won't work. It's easy to say no. Some of the naysayers in the world are very famous. There was an advertisement appeared in an American magazine recently picturing some of them, and I wrote some of them down. I thought that was wonderful. Charles Duell, who was the director of the United States Patent Office in 1899, said at that time, "Everything that can be invented has been invented, and therefore we should close the patent office." He was wrong, dead wrong, but he thought he was right. Harry Warner headed and started Warner Brothers Pictures. In 1927 said, "Who in the world wants to hear actors talk? All we need is silent films." He was wrong. We had a president by the name of Grover Cleveland in 1905 said these marvelous words. He said, "Sensible and responsible women do not want to vote." Robert Millikan, a great enough scientist to earn the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1923, and that takes some ability. I'm not sure I couldn't earn the Nobel Prize in Physics, but this is what he said in 1923. He said, "There is no likelihood that man can ever tap the power of the atom." He was wrong. And Lord Kelvin, the president of the Royal Society of Science back in 1895, he said, "Heavier than air flying machines are impossible." Well, these people were all wrong, and we don't believe the naysayers, and we don't believe the prophets of doom, and we do believe in the art of the possible, and we believe that together we can climb, and we can climb to unimaginable heights. And we believe in you, and we believe in us, and we believe in all of us together, and we believe that all of us together will do it and will achieve the impossible.
This is a copyrighted program of Amway Corporation, Ada, Michigan, USA. Unauthorized duplication is prohibited.